back. Everyone keeps telling you to just love yourself like that's the solution to everything. But what if I told you that most of that advice is actually keeping you stuck? Back. You don't need another affirmation. You need accountability. You don't build self-love by saying you're enough. You build it by proving it. Back. And that means doing the hard things even when it doesn't feel good, because real self-love isn't soft. It's strong. Back. It's earned. Most people today have been sold a version of self-love that feels good, but does nothing to move them forward. They're told that loving themselves means forgiving every mistake, back, indulging every craving and silencing every uncomfortable truth. But the reality is that most of what's being marketed as self-love is really just self-comfort. It back. It's a way to justify staying exactly where you are while calling it healing. People hide behind phrases like, I'm enough as I am, as a shield against accountability, back, when deep down they know they're not living up to what they could be. Real self-love doesn't coddle you. It confronts you. It's not a warm hug. It's a hard conversation with yourself. Back. It's not saying, I'm fine. It's asking, what can I do better? The truth is, comfort feels good in the moment, but discipline gives you peace in the long run. Back. The difference between comfort and discipline is that one gives you temporary relief and the other gives you permanent growth. Comfort will tell you to rest when you haven't earned it, back, while discipline tells you to push when it matters most. Comfort says, you deserve a break, but discipline says, you deserve results. Comfort is easy to sell because it sounds kind, back, but it's avoidance. People love to hear that self-love means never being too hard on themselves, but being too soft on yourself is how you stay stuck. It's not self-hate to expect more from yourself, back. It's self-respect. When you love yourself enough to do the hard things, you stop negotiating with your excuses. You start realizing that discipline is not punishment, back. It's a form of care that future you will thank you for. The more you choose discipline over comfort, the more you begin to trust your own strength, back. There's a misconception that being hard on yourself means being mean to yourself, but they're not the same thing. You can be demanding and still be kind. You can push yourself without shaming yourself, back. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. The problem is that most people confuse self-acceptance with self-abandonment. They say, I accept myself, but what they mean is, I'm giving up on improving. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop growing. It means you acknowledge where you are while staying committed to where you want to go. Discipline bridges that gap, back. It's the daily act of showing up for yourself even when you don't feel like it. It's refusing to settle for mediocrity because you know you're capable of excellence. Back. You stop treating yourself like someone fragile and start treating yourself like someone capable. When you think about the people you admire most, it's rarely because they chose comfort. It's because they did the hard things consistently, even when nobody was watching. They didn't rely on motivation. They relied on discipline. Motivation is fleeting. It's emotional. Discipline is a decision, back. It doesn't care how you feel that day. It only cares that you follow through. That's why self-love through discipline is so powerful. It teaches you emotional resilience. You learn to act despite discomfort. You stop seeking permission from your feelings. When you replace, I don't feel like it, with, I'll do it anyway, you start becoming someone you respect, back. That respect becomes the foundation of true self-love because you trust yourself to do what's right for you, not what's easy, back. The biggest mistake people make when trying to love themselves is thinking it's about constant reassurance. They tell themselves nice things without earning them. But your brain knows when you're lying. Back, you can't build genuine confidence on words alone. It's built on evidence. You don't start loving yourself by saying you're proud. You start by doing things that make you proud. Back. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you reinforce self-respect. Every time you skip the shortcut and take the harder path, you build character. Back. That's how you cultivate a sense of worth that isn't dependent on external validation. It's earned, not given. And that earned self-worth becomes unshakable because it's grounded in effort, not ego. Back. Most people think self-love is a feeling, but it's really a practice. Feelings come and go, but discipline stays. It's the quiet voice that says, I know you're tired, back, but let's keep going. It's what builds consistency, and consistency is what builds confidence. The small daily decisions, waking up early, finishing the workout, back. Doing the hard conversation, these are the moments where self-love shows up in its realest form. You begin to understand that the most loving thing you can do is to refuse to let your lower self run your life. Back. It's not about punishing yourself for mistakes. It's about refusing to let them define you. Discipline doesn't restrict your freedom. It creates it. Because when you master yourself, I trust myself to take it back. You stop being controlled by impulses. If you want to know how much you love yourself, look at how often you keep promises to yourself. Look at how you treat your goals when no one else is watching. Back. Love isn't telling yourself you're perfect. Love is telling yourself you can be better. It's setting standards and living up to them, not because someone else told you to pack back, but because you owe it to yourself. When you start acting from that place, your self-respect grows. You stop chasing validation because you know you've earned your own approval. You stop depending on others to tell you your worth because your actions already prove it. That's the power of discipline. It gives you control over your identity. Discipline also forces you to confront your excuses. back. And that's uncomfortable. You'll realize how often you've been protecting your comfort instead of your growth. You'll notice how often you've chosen the easy path just to avoid temporary pain, back, and how that's kept you stuck in long-term disappointment. But once you become aware of this, everything changes. You start recognizing that short-term discomfort is the price for long-term peace. You begin to crave the satisfaction that comes from effort more than the relief that comes from avoidance. That shift is what separates people who grow from people who stay the same. Back. It's the moment you decide that the cost of staying stuck is higher than the cost of change. There will always be people who misunderstand this kind of self-love. They'll say, get back. You're being too hard on yourself. But that's because they've confused gentleness with weakness. True love isn't fragile. It's fierce. It's not about lowering your standards to feel better. Back. It's about raising them because you know you deserve better. You stop enabling your bad habits and start creating better ones. You stop romanticizing rest when you haven't earned it. Take it back. You stop mistaking comfort for care. Real care is choosing what's right for you, not what's easy. The kind of love that lasts isn't soft. It's strong enough to hold you accountable when no one else will. Back. When you finally embrace discipline as self-love, you start seeing the world differently. You no longer chase temporary highs or external validation because you've built something deeper within yourself. It back. You realize that every time you choose discipline, you're investing in your future. You're building integrity, one choice at a time. You stop being a victim of your moods and become the architect of your outcomes. Back. You begin to understand that the ultimate act of love isn't about how gently you treat yourself, but how committed you are to your own evolution. Because the most powerful form of self-love isn't the one that feels good. It's the one that makes you great. You can stand in front of the mirror and repeat affirmations every morning. It back. But if you haven't done the work, your brain knows it's all noise. You can whisper, I'm enough 1,000 times, but deep down, you still feel like you're faking it. Back. That's because confidence doesn't come from saying things. It comes from proving things. You can't trick yourself into believing you're capable. You have to earn that belief. Take it back. People love the idea of quick confidence hacks because they sound easy and painless, but real confidence is a byproduct of evidence. It's built every time you follow through on a promise, not when you post a motivational quote. You trust yourself when you see yourself doing what you said you would do. That's where self-respect comes from. It's not found in empty words, but in consistent action. Get back. Confidence built on affirmations alone is fragile because it collapses the moment life tests it. It's easy to feel good about yourself when things are going smoothly, but the real test is when things fall apart. Back. Do you still trust yourself then? Do you still believe you can figure it out when it's not working? That's where real confidence shows up, not in your words, but in your actions when things get hard. Back. The people who seem unshakably confident didn't get that way by telling themselves they were. They built it by stacking evidence that they can handle things. Every small act of discipline, every moment of persistence, back. Every hard decision becomes a brick in that foundation. So when adversity hits, they don't crumble. They've built proof that they can withstand it. You start to realize that self-trust is the currency of confidence. Back. And like any currency, it's earned through deposits, small daily actions that align with your goals and values. Every time you do what you said you do, you're making a deposit. Back. Every time you skip it or break a promise to yourself, you're making a withdrawal. Over time, that balance determines how confident you feel. You can't fake it because you know exactly how much you've invested. Get back. The people who struggle with self-confidence are often overdrawn. They've spent more time talking than acting. They've told themselves they'll change but haven't followed through. Back. They've built a habit of breaking trust with themselves, and that's why they don't believe their own words anymore. The only way to rebuild it is through action. Back. The truth about confidence is that it's not an emotion, it's a reflection of competence. You don't feel confident and then act. You act and then feel confident. It's backwards from what people think. Back. You gain confidence not from knowing you'll succeed, but from knowing you'll survive if you fail. That's the difference between shallow confidence and real confidence. One is based on pretending you're perfect. It back. The other is built on proving you're resilient. The reason you doubt yourself isn't because you're broken. It's because you haven't given yourself enough evidence that you can trust your own follow through. Once you start showing up consistently, that doubt begins to fade naturally. It's not magic, it's math. Consistency adds up. Most advice around self-love tells people to speak kindly to themselves. Back, and while kindness is important, it's not enough. Kindness without accountability becomes complacency. You don't build confidence by lowering your standards, you build it by meeting them. Take it back. You should absolutely talk to yourself with compassion, but that compassion should come with expectations. It's saying, I love you, but we're still doing this. It's saying, you're capable of more. Back. And I won't let you settle. That's real self-respect. You stop letting your comfort dictate your choices and start letting your character lead. Confidence is a byproduct of keeping that internal promise over and over again. The more you keep it, the less you need external validation. Think about how you build trust with another person. Back. It's not by them telling you they're reliable. It's by them proving it. Every time they show up, Every time they keep their word, your trust grows. And if they break their word repeatedly, bet no amount of nice words can repair it. The same principle applies to yourself. You are in a relationship with you. Every broken promise, every excuse, every skipped goal chips away at your trust in yourself. But the good news is every small win rebuilds it. You don't have to change your entire life overnight. Just keep one small promise today, then another tomorrow. Over time, those micro wins compound into confidence that no setback can shake. People often wait to feel confident before they act, but that's the biggest trap. Confidence isn't a prerequisite, it's a result. The first step will always feel uncertain, awkward, even uncomfortable, but that's exactly how it's supposed to feel. Those first reps of discomfort are how you earn confidence back. You don't become confident at speaking until you speak badly a few times. You don't become confident in business until you fail at a few. You can't affirm your way out of an experience, you have to live through it. That's how evidence is built, by doing the work before you feel ready. Confidence is not the absence of fear, it's the decision to keep moving despite it. Get back. The reason affirmations feel empty is because they skip the process and go straight to the reward. It's like trying to cash a check before earning the money. When you repeat words like, I'm successful, without the habits to back them up, your subconscious calls you out. It knows the truth. That's why it feels fake. But when you say those same words after you've shown up day, after you've faced rejection and still moved forward, they hit differently. They feel real because you've earned them. You no longer have to convince yourself of who you are. You have proof. That's what authentic confidence feels like: quiet, grounded, and unshakable. Most people chase confidence through validation, thinking they'll finally feel secure once others approve. But validation is a sugar high. It gives you a rush that fades fast. Evidence, on the other hand, is protein. It builds you. It lasts. External praise feels good, but it's fragile because it depends on things you can't control. Self-earned evidence is permanent because it's yours. Nobody can take it away. You can lose everything: money, titles, opportunities. But if you've built the habit of doing hard things and keeping promises to yourself, your confidence stays intact. That's why the most grounded people don't chase approval. They already trust themselves enough to keep building no matter what others think. The kind of confidence that changes your life doesn't come from speaking it. It comes from living it. Every decision you make, every action you take, every challenge you face becomes proof that you can handle life. You stop needing to talk yourself into belief because your behavior already demonstrates it. You begin to see yourself as someone reliable, capable, and resilient, not because you said so but because you've earned the right to. That's what turns effort into self-assurance and discipline into self-love. Real confidence is quiet because it doesn't need to announce itself. It's already proven. It's not the loud voice saying, I can do this. It's the calm one that says, I've done it before, and I'll do it again. The modern idea of self-love has become a comforting lie we tell ourselves to avoid discomfort. People keep hearing, you're perfect just the way you are, as if growth is an act of self-betrayal. But the truth is, telling yourself you're perfect when you're unfulfilled is not self-love. It's self-deception. It's easier to accept mediocrity when you disguise it as peace. Growth has become demonized as though wanting to improve means you don't appreciate who you are. But wanting to grow doesn't mean you hate yourself. It means you respect yourself enough to evolve. True self-love isn't a permission slip to stay the same. It's the responsibility to keep becoming better. It's the awareness that you are both enough right now and capable of more. That tension between gratitude and ambition is where real self-love lies. People often use self-love as an excuse to lower their standards. They tell themselves, I deserve rest, but they've been resting from effort they never gave. They say, I'm being kind to myself, when really they're protecting their comfort zones. It sounds nice, but it's keeping them small. The problem isn't that they don't care. It's that they've mistaken self-acceptance for self-abandonment. You can't heal by avoiding challenge. You heal by growing through it. Real self-love doesn't coddle your insecurities. It challenges them. It looks you in the mirror and says, I know you're scared, but we're doing this anyway. It's understanding that the best version of you isn't built through ease. It's built through effort. Comfort doesn't create confidence. Challenge does. There's this illusion that personal growth is harsh or rooted in dissatisfaction, but it's actually the highest form of care. When you push yourself to evolve, take it back. It's not because you're unworthy. It's because you recognize your worth. You know you're capable of more, and settling feels like betrayal. That's why people who truly love themselves don't settle for average. They're constantly raising their standards. Growth becomes a form of gratitude. You're saying, I've been given this mind, this body, this potential, and I refuse to waste it. Self-love is not a pause, it's momentum. It's the decision to keep climbing even when you've already achieved something good, because you know there's still a better version of you waiting to be built. When you look closely at people who are genuinely fulfilled, they have one thing in common. They live in alignment with their potential. They don't confuse comfort with happiness. They understand that growth is uncomfortable, but stagnation is painful. Growth requires friction, and friction creates strength. back. The person you're meant to become will require the parts of you that are untested right now. That's why the path of real self-love doesn't feel easy. It feels demanding. It asks for sacrifice, patience, it back, and consistency. It's not about feeling good all the time. It's about building the kind of life that feels meaningful. When you love yourself enough to grow it back, you stop choosing what feels good now and start choosing what's good for you long term. The phrase, love yourself as you are, was meant to teach compassion, but it's been twisted into an excuse for stagnation. Back, you can love yourself as you are and still demand progress. The two are not opposites, they are partners. Loving yourself means acknowledging your current state without judgment, but refusing to let it become your permanent address. It's saying, I accept myself, but I don't idolize this version of me. Because the truth is, you can't outgrow what you're still defending. When you use self-love to justify your limits, I trust myself to take it back. You're not loving yourself, you're protecting your fears. The kind of love that actually transforms you is the one that holds you accountable. There's nothing wrong with being gentle with yourself, back, but gentleness without direction turns into self-sabotage. When you avoid discomfort, you're not sparing yourself pain, you're prolonging it. It back, growth requires discomfort because progress and peace don't come from the same place. The muscle doesn't grow without resistance, and neither do you. It back. The reason people feel stuck is because they keep confusing ease with alignment. Just because something feels peaceful doesn't mean it's right for you. Sometimes peace is just avoidance disguised as self-care. Back, real love tells you the truth even when it hurts. It says, you're capable of more than this version of you is showing. That's love in its purest form, honest and demanding. Back, every time you choose growth over comfort, you're sending yourself a message. I believe in my potential. That belief is what rewires your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who needs fixing and start seeing yourself as someone who's evolving. Self-love becomes less about pampering and more about partnership. You're working with yourself, back, not rescuing yourself. You stop waiting for external validation because your growth itself becomes proof of your worth. You don't need to convince anyone of your value when your actions already demonstrate it. Take it back. Every difficult choice becomes a form of love. Every time you do what's hard, you reinforce that you're worthy of effort, not avoidance. The beauty of growth is that it changes not only what you do, back, but how you see yourself. When you commit to evolving, you stop identifying with your limitations. You begin to understand that your flaws aren't fixed. They're areas of opportunity. Back, you stop using your past as an excuse and start using it as education. Growth becomes a reflection of your self-respect. You start realizing that being proud of yourself feels better than being comfortable. That pride doesn't come from pretending you're perfect. It comes from knowing you're improving. You no longer seek validation from others because your progress becomes your proof. At that, you start loving yourself not for what you are, but for who you're becoming. The most misunderstood part of self-love is that it's not just about how you feel about yourself. It's about how you treat yourself. If you treat yourself with care, but never with challenge, that's not love, it's comfort. Real love sets boundaries, expects effort, and pushes for growth. It doesn't enable your bad habits, it corrects them. Back. It doesn't let you sit in your potential, it forces you to fulfill it. You become the kind of person who values progress more than validation. And when that happens, your entire definition of love changes. But it's no longer about indulgence, it's about improvement. It's no longer about feeling safe, it's about becoming strong. When you finally understand that self-love and growth are the same thing, everything starts to align. You stop fighting the process and start embracing the work. You realize that every challenge is an opportunity to meet a new version of yourself. Take it back. You stop waiting for the world to tell you you're enough because you're proving it through action. You love yourself enough to push yourself, not because you're broken. I trust myself to take it back, but because you deserve to see what you're capable of. You learn that the purpose of self-love was never to make you stay comfortable. It was to give you the courage to keep evolving into the best version of you. Back, one of the biggest lies people believe is that you have to feel good about yourself before you can do good things. That idea sounds comforting, but it's completely backward. If you wait to feel confident before you act, back. You'll be waiting forever. Most people don't realize that feelings follow actions, not the other way around. You don't need to feel brave to take action. You act first, and the bravery comes later. Hit back. The people who achieve real growth aren't the ones who wait for motivation. They're the ones who move despite doubt. They take the first step even when it feels uncomfortable because they understand that confidence is earned through repetition, not reassurance. Every time you do what scares you, you build proof that you can. That's how self-trust is born, not from feeling ready, but from acting anyway. The problem with waiting to feel good before doing good is that it trains you to depend on emotion instead of discipline. Back, if you only take action when you're motivated, your progress becomes inconsistent because motivation is temporary, it's unreliable, unpredictable, and often missing when you need it most. Discipline, back. On the other hand, doesn't ask how you feel, it asks what you've decided. It's the quiet commitment that shows up whether you feel inspired or not. Back. People who rely on motivation burn out because they're chasing a feeling, not building a habit. But those who rely on discipline thrive because they're anchored by consistency. Every time you act when it's hard, You build strength. Every time you push past resistance, you prove to yourself that your emotions don't control you. You do. Self-love at its core is about responsibility. It's not about pampering yourself. It's about parenting yourself. A good parent doesn't give a child everything they want. They give them what they need. And what you often need isn't comfort, it's structure. It's guidance. It's the push to do the right thing even when you don't feel like it. That's the kind of love that creates real growth. People who say, I'll start when I feel ready, are really saying, I'm waiting for my emotions to give me permission. But your emotions are followers, not leaders. They take cues from your actions. When you do what's hard, your mind learns to trust you. When you keep your promises, your self-esteem rises. That's how discipline becomes the purest form of self-love, because it leads you toward the version of yourself you've always wanted to be. There's this misconception that taking action without feeling ready is fake or forced. But the truth is, everyone starts before they're ready. Every confident person you see once stood where you are, unsure, nervous, full of self-doubt. The only difference is that they didn't let those feelings dictate their behavior. They understood that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to act despite it. And every time you act through fear, you weaken its hold on you. You don't wait for clarity to move. You move to find clarity. Confidence grows the same way a muscle does, through resistance. Each time you choose action over avoidance, that muscle strengthens. And soon, what once felt impossible becomes automatic because you've trained yourself to trust your own capability. The people who grow the most aren't the ones who talk themselves into confidence. They're the ones who earn it through repetition. They've learned that action creates evidence, and evidence builds belief. When you take action repeatedly, your brain starts collecting proof that you're someone who follows through. That proof becomes the foundation for authentic confidence. It's not about fake positivity or empty affirmations. It's about real, visible effort. You can't lie to yourself when you've put in the work. The more you act, the more you start to believe. Not because you've been convincing yourself, but because you've built a track record that supports it. Action is how you reprogram your identity. You start seeing yourself as capable because you've shown yourself that you are. Waiting for the right time to act is one of the biggest traps people fall into. There will never be a perfect time, a perfect plan, or a perfect mindset. The people who move forward are the ones who start before everything feels aligned. You can always adjust along the way. Perfectionism is just procrastination dressed as productivity. It keeps you stuck because it convinces you that you're not ready yet. But readiness is a myth. Readiness comes after you start, not before. The moment you begin, you teach your brain that you are capable of handling what comes next. Action breeds clarity, and clarity breeds confidence. You grow by doing, not by waiting. Every time you choose action over hesitation, take it back. You're casting a vote for the person you want to become. Most of the time, people use self-doubt as a reason to stop, when really it should be the reason to begin. Doubt means you're stretching beyond your current limits. It means you're growing. The key is to not let doubt become a decision. Feel it, but act anyway. You don't need to silence your fears. You just need to stop letting them drive. Courage doesn't come from eliminating fear. It comes from moving with it back. The greatest transformations happen in the moments when you act before you feel ready. That's where you prove to yourself that you don't need perfect confidence to make progress. You just need commitment. Get back. Every small act of follow through chips away at insecurity and replaces it with evidence of strength. When you understand that emotions are temporary but actions are permanent, you stop letting your mood dictate your movement. You stop saying, I don't feel like it, and start saying, I'll do it anyway. That shift changes everything. You begin to operate from principle instead of emotion. You no longer wait to feel good to do what's right. You do what's right, and then you feel good because of it. That's the paradox of progress. The effort comes first, and the emotion follows. You don't build pride from comfort. You build it from completion. The satisfaction that comes after doing something hard is infinitely greater than the relief of avoiding it. That's why disciplined people often seem calm. They've learned to trust the process instead of chasing the feeling. Taking action before you feel ready doesn't just build confidence, it builds character. It teaches you to value consistency over comfort and results over reassurance. It gives you a quiet strength that doesn't depend on external motivation. You stop relying on inspiration and start relying on integrity. Every step you take in discomfort becomes a declaration of self-respect. You're no longer a prisoner of your emotions. You're the leader of them. And that's the real power of self-love, to take it back, knowing that you don't have to feel amazing to do amazing things. You just have to start. The rest, the clarity, the confidence, the peace, comes as a result of your action, not before it. When you stop waiting to feel ready and start acting anyway, your life changes. You realize that confidence isn't a gift. It's a skill built through doing. You stop chasing motivation and start building momentum. You understand that the secret to self-love isn't in feeling good about yourself all the time. It's in doing what's good for yourself, even when it's hard, because that's how you earn your own respect. You prove to yourself that you're capable of showing up, not just when it's convenient, but when it counts. And once you start living that way, You don't need to convince yourself you're enough. You know it. Back, because you've built the evidence through your actions. And that evidence is unshakable